What's up guys, Ash here, and I honestly thought this was going to be my final class video just because of the play style. My team is very much kind of blitzkrieg tactics. They don't do this taking damage thing, and so to play Barbarian is a very odd play style for me and my team and something to get used to, but it's absolutely nuts. Of course, today we're talking about Alisa's Barbarian. And I'm really excited to bring this to you guys. I've got lots of good footage, so let's hop right into it.
At a high level overview, Barbarian is a completely different feel from White Knight, and the playstyle itself does take some getting used to, as even the class Mastery for Barbarian allows her to convert health into damage. You can see right here, and basically the premise is if the lower health that Alisa gets, the more damage she's going to do. It's absolutely insane, and it's kind of awkward to get used to at first, as generally most classes in the game, you don't want taking any damage. It is very strange, but it is incredibly powerful. Additionally, Alisa will be trading in her Vigor meter for a Rage meter. Similar to Giselle's pets, she'll need that Rage to actually use abilities. Barbarian was gifted with two ways to gain Rage immediately, and the first is an ability called Rampage. On paper, Rampage gives a staggering 100% speed, 30 Rage Vigor recovery, an incredible 50% bonus to attack damage. But unfortunately, the Rampage AI is absolutely horrible, and you'll be losing control of your character during this period. You could have some control over this by removing abilities and forcing her to use only a select few. But ultimately, it still doesn't work because sometimes Alisa will simply do nothing on her turn. Right here, she's not doing too bad at this current moment. She just got overcharged, and you're going to see her use Spin Cutter. Now, she kills this rogue, and you can see she triggers one shot, one kill, and she got an action point, except for that her turn just ended. Now, she didn't do wait, she didn't do conceal. It would literally be the equivalent of just hitting backspace. And, obviously right here, she could have just kept going, regardless of the ability that she had, but she just quit. And you'll find this all the time with the Rampage AI. Barbarian's second way to gain immediate rage is through Encourage, which is basically an AoE shout that will give Alisa and all nearby party members 100 attack power and 100 ESP power. But more importantly, give Alisa maximum rage and a 3-turn duration of a rage type buff, which is very important to upkeep every 3 turns because of Barbarian's reliance on a rage state. While under the effect of any type of rage type buff, Alisa will gain access to Anger Strike. This is going to be one of the core abilities in her build, and it's going to allow her a responsive attack using a melee ability if she moves within one tile of an enemy. This is of course best coupled with Lunatic Beast and Berserkers, so she can kind of move forward. It's absolutely insane ability, and you can see her just moving forward and just cutting all these draggies down like it's nothing. Alisa will also gain access to an ability called Frenzied Charge. This is basically going to give her immunity to AT delay. Right here we have a white draggy, and I think they do a 10 AT delay. Think like Frostcron and stuff like that. None of that will have any effect on her as long as she has Frenzied Charge up. To upkeep Frenzied Charge, she only needs a Rage or Excitement state at all times. Similar to White Knight, we'll be running White Lion and Charisma in order to keep a permanent Excitement bonus on her, meaning Frenzied Charge will be up 100% of the time. On top of that, White Lion will also be granting Enraged White Lion while having Charisma up, allowing her to drop 10 AT anytime she puts an enemy out of action. Further still, Outraged White Lion will then act as a catharsis by reducing ability cooldowns while under a rage type state. This is one of the many reasons why being in a rage state like Encourage is so important. Here we are on the most recent scenario, and Alisa is completely surrounded, and you guys can see she's missing about 900 health or so. My Alisa usually runs about 4,000 max health, and she's just getting completely ganged up on. You can see this here, and she's gone from basically 4,000 all the way down to 453. And believe it or not, this is exactly where we want Elise to be. She gets stronger and stronger as that health pool disappears and Wrath keeps stacking more and more damage. It's literally a 2% damage increase per 1% of health loss. I'm actually going to do a sliding right here, and this is on Cruel Challenge, so look at these health pools. These guys are generally tank classes. Crimson Pig is a tank class, and I'm just trying to get to Jeff without having to deal with the nonsense. But you can just see the amount of damage that she's dealing is absolutely off the rails, and this is one of the highest damage modifiers in the game. Also, interesting to note, she's going to hit overcharge very, very fast, and we're going to come back to this. But we're going to do a spin cutter here and just completely tear these guys apart. You can see the damage getting out of hand really fast. Also interesting to note, so not only is the damage increase, obviously insane and massive, but at this point, this is where final resistance is going to kick in. She's going to have a 100% chance to block, but she's also going to have abilities that reduce total damage, like Indomitable Will and Will to Survive, and all of these kind of activate underneath 33% health. So you notice Snake just hit her there for 1 damage. Now she's at 452, and she kills this guy, and Snake hits her again for 451, and I'd like you guys to keep in mind, she has 4 stacks of armor break. And now everyone is basically going to be doing 1 damage to her. It's absolutely insane, and this is just a Tuesday for a Barbarian. This is very odd, and I don't know. I cannot stress enough how weird of a play style this is. But once you get used to it, it's absolutely crazy. Also notice that's overcharged for her second time, by the way. So there's no problem with SP, and that's due to a lot of Roar Victory all up and down her build. Feeding into Wrath is Alisa's natural, massive amount of damage. You can see right here, she even got Weapon Break, but she's approaching this Flamecron, and Flamecron here has gone into Berserk. For our newer players, in order to take down a Kron that's gone into Berserk, you have to basically deal their max amount of health and damage, which for Flamecron is somewhere around 5,000. Anyway, Alisa isn't really that wounded. 3,400 out of 4,000 is what, like 15%, which is a 30% damage increase, and that's easily enough for Alisa to just one-shot Kron. It's just absolutely nuts. Just one of the many skill sets for Barbarian. Of course, when Alisa gets really low, she's going to activate an ability called Immortality, which is going to prevent her from dying for 3 turns. It's pretty crazy, and it fits really well with the whole Barbarian theme of losing health and then converting to damage. And it kind of allows Alisa to get away with some pretty crazy scenarios. Right here, you can see she's already at 1 health. She's already at Immortality. She's completely surrounded, and it's just gonna feed into her damage right here, and she's just having a good old time. You can even see Zhao Zai here gets a movement on silence based off of that either flex shaving or spin cutter. He does 2,123, and it was a block. Had that been a regular hit, Alisa would die instantaneously normally, much less a critical. But she's perfectly fine, and this is just one of the many defenses that Barbarian has. Also wanted to introduce to you guys an ability called Lunacy. Lunacy is going to give Alisa a buff every single time that she kills a target, and this just stacks and stacks and stacks, and obviously the more you kill, the more buffs you're going to have. It gets really wild really fast. So she's getting shot up here, and no big deal because it's just going to add to her damage. But she's going to kill this guy, and I think she's going to get peace, right? Yeah, she gets peace from that one. Triggers overcharge, and this is going to be a very interesting point here for some of our veteran players. So she's going to kill this guy and get immortality, and this is an important note. I don't always recommend Second Heart and or Immortal for mastery boards because of this exact reason. She can get immortality just from Lunacy. Now the thing is about Lunacy is it's going to pick a random excitement buff. But more often than not, you will see Lunacy come up within, I don't know, maybe 5 kills. And you know, I don't know how everyone else's Barbarian works out, but for mine, generally speaking, she just, you know, plows through people. But let's go ahead and slow this down. So again, right here, notice Elisa's getting close to about half health. She gets hit by a clenched fist with the AT suppression. Frenzy charge takes that away, so no AT delay from that. But what's interesting to note here is that the order of the buff can be very important. In this particular case, she got Hero right off the bat, which is just insane. You know, Hero is nuts on any character anywhere. You know, it is a massive boost, and you know you should be used to this from Irene, but you know, in case you're not, you're going to see it on Alisa, and that makes things incredibly ridiculous for Alisa. Um, so every kill she gets, she's going to get 30 AT back, and you know, of course, she's going to skip everyone's turn, just go straight to the top here. So you can see at the bottom, she's running Bravery that she just got, and Hero. And just like before, she's going to get Peace, she's going to get Immortality, and you know, the more she kills, then the more insane that it gets. Just totally crazy, and just something to keep in mind. Again, here we're going to show some stacking buffs and you know what kind of a standard Barbarian will be running once she gets into the fight. She's at about half health. You know, this White Clown challenged her, and now you know Wildcat Engine is going to start going. And she's going to start plowing. Again, Immortality trigger there. She just got Trance. Oh my goodness. You know, that's Ray's specialty. So, you know, if you can imagine combining Trance with Hero and all the other insane abilities, it's just crazy. Of course, by far the worst ability you can get is Release Magic. And you can tell you've killed too many units when you have 10 stacks of Release Magic on Alisa. That means the map should be over by that point. Just totally insane. You can see on the bottom left there, the buffs are just stacking up. She just got another Trance, I believe. So now, believe it or not, she's actually increasing her overcharge duration. I think she's at 7 turns of overcharge now because of Trance. Like, it's just insanity, guys, and it just gets more and more ridiculous as Alisa gets further and further into the fight. And we have the Barbarian's abilities overview. So, of course, quick shaving, very important because this is what's going to feed your Anger Strike. You know, can't get behind this enough. You know, like most of my builds, the basic ability is so important, and it should be because it's their basic ability. And you know, this just has an attack power modifier, and that's pretty much it, and a chance for bleeding. It's very simple, but understanding it is really good. I will note that one, there's no cast delay to this, so that's even more reason to use it. And then two, you will require 10 rage, and for those of you that are not used to playing Barbarian, you will need to be using Rampage or Encourage, or find an alternate source of rage like taking damage first before you can attack, or literally you won't be able to do anything, which is a little bit of a shocker for newer Barbarian players. For general abilities, I recommend Sliding, Cross Slash, and Wood Chop, with emphasis on Sliding and Wood Chop. Wood Chop is going to give you your extra range, and as well as be kind of like your boss killer, that extra damage that you saw on Flamecron earlier there. And then Sliding is just nuts, and it's mostly nuts because it's a line attack. It's nuts because it's 6 tiles long. Treat it a lot like Scion's laser that he has. It's really amazing, and normally, like let's say with White Knight, you won't have the damage to kill with this, but on Barbarian, where you've got Wrath and she starts cooking, you're going to start seeing damage that Sliding should not be able to do, and she'll be able to take out, you know, 4 or 5 targets on a line very easily. My maybe is Cross Slash. This is personal preference, and this is probably the only character in the game where I absolutely love all their abilities, and I would recommend swapping out Cross Slash for whatever you guys feel is good. Straight Thrust, awesome. Huge damage modifiers, bonus damage to exposed state. It seems very situational, and the situation of using a line attack is covered by Sliding, and Sliding has a lower cast delay as well as a lower cooldown. So that's the only reason why I don't use Straight Thrust, but it is really awesome, and you can get very specific scenarios for this where you can see it really shine. Flex shaving is amazing. The problem is that the cast delay is kind of high. But this is very good if your Alisa's running kind of low hit chance. You'll see the hit chance modifier plus 30%. This is great, especially when you're starting up. You know, of course, Alisa is a spirit character. So as she fights, and you saw how fast it was getting overcharged there, as she fights, she's going to get that bonus hit chance from adding spirit. So, you know, like let's say you're opening up, flex shaving isn't bad, or, you know, obviously if she's surrounded, flex shaving is just amazing. And then even battle cry is good on Barbarian, and part of that is because of we're going to be taking encouraged warrior, which is going to drop an action point off on this. So this is only going to be a single action point, and you know, right in the thick of it, it's pretty cool to, you know, with the two action point turn start, to use battle cry right off the start and then continue combat with that reduced hit chance. And you know, this is going to help your allies if you want to play, I don't know if there's such a thing as more of a support barbarian, but you know, I would definitely keep sliding woodshop, and then, you know, from these choose what best fits for you. I like cross slash, you know, to deal with kind of berserk and some other stuff, so that's just me. For overcharge abilities, and this is pretty important, again, Alisa is probably going to be one of the fastest SP gainers in the game on Barbarian. Double cross slash, this is your signature boss killer. It's going to hit 4 times. Defense is unavailable when hit. This is nasty. Treat it a lot like Storm Slash for Albus. Very similar modifiers as well. Increased damage bonus and still stance, but it's just nasty, and not many things are going to live this, that's for sure. And then between Spin Cutter and Perfect Shaving, both of these are really good. I think this is also, again, player preference for once. I don't actually have a recommendation. I prefer Spin Cutter, and Spin Cutter has a bit of a learning curve to it. You know, when you first use it, you're going to feel like it's kind of awkward, but as you get used to it, it's really not bad. And the 5 consecutive attacks and hitting multiple targets, the bonus to 100% exposed, it's really nasty, and you'd be surprised the results that come out of this. Perfect Shaving, not bad. This is going to be a 100 AT increase if they live, so very good for bosses, as well as you can see that 100% critical hit damage modifier. Obviously, that's insane. I just think that on Barbarian, the question isn't damage. You know, where you're going to get multi-hit on Spin Cutter for, you know, your area mobs, and then multi-hit on Double Cross Slash for your boss killer. It doesn't have that, and that's kind of why I chose what I did. Alright, and we have the stats, individual masteries, and equipment page. So for individual masteries, relaxed is horrible. I believe the idea behind this was it was supposed to be Alisa's version of responsibility from Albus, but unfortunately, you just get peace if you miss, and she's going to get peace when she kills, and she's going to do a lot of killing. So this is just horrible, and I don't recommend this on any build on any class whatsoever. Deathblow, not bad. I do, after playing this now, I do feel like this is better used on White Knight. I don't particularly like it on Barbarian, mostly because White Lion is so much better, and that's for the following reasons. So, Enraged White Lion, putting an enemy out of action while under excitement type state decreases your AT by 10. So we're going to be taking Charisma, just like in the White Knight build that I did previously. And this is going to give Alisa permanent passion, permanent excitement effect. So basically, every time she puts an enemy out of action, she's going to decrease her AT by 10. Absolutely nuts. But this is the neat part about White Lion that you won't get on White Knight. Outraged White Lion, putting an enemy out of action while under rage type state decreases your cooldown. So basically, you're going to have free catharsis. You know, I can't stress how amazing White Lion is, particularly for Barbarian, because you're getting both of these bonuses at the exact same time. Absolutely insane. Of course, Class Mastery Wrath, one of the most simple and best designed class masteries in the game. Damage dealt by 2% increase per 1% of lost health. Awesome. Again, Alisa is a spirit user, which means lots of different options for block shred, but we'll get into that as we get to the mastery board. For stats, so obviously Alisa has insane amounts of health, and this is very important for a lot of reasons. I usually use Giant Potion, so, you know, she's at, let's say, give or take about 4,000 for me most of the time. And by the way, this is pretty neat as well. Because of Encouraged Warrior, you're going to be able to use Giant Potion without taking an action point. So highly recommend Giant Potion. You know, this is going to be 4,000 health, a ton of extra damage, and it just feeds into Barbarian. The only thing that it decreases is his dodge, and you can see her dodge is horrible anyway, so there's really no loss whatsoever. Again, you're going to be using Rage. This will take some getting used to. And if you notice Rage Recovery, this is a good kind of board to look at. You know, Rage gain when attacking, Rage gain when taking damage, Rage loss when ending a turn without attacking, that kind of stuff. Very important to kind of familiarize yourself with. Spirit SP, we're going to leave at 100, and that's just because of the board that I did. But if you're going for a block shred build, you might want to go higher than this. Her attack power, Lisa has one of the highest natural attack powers in the game, and that's because of her two-handed sword that she uses. But, you know, she hits heavy. She's going to add 500 of it from Giant Potion. This just gets crazy. You add in Wrath and multiply and add, and just totally insane. No ESP power. Hit chance. This is an interesting topic. So, generally, Barbarian does have low hit chance. And you will probably have to find a way to kind of alter this. And this isn't taking into account a lot of things, such as charisma and passion giving hit chance. This isn't going to take into account her triggering excitement. You know, I find that she does just fine at this exact number, but you know, every build is different. So, crit chance. So mine is running 37 plus 15 from the 2-set. Golden bonus, right? Yes. Or 3-set golden bonus, I'm sorry. And that'll be 53% critical hit chance, meaning in exposed, it's 100. But we're going to be taking aggression. So, you know, based on the numbers, she's going to have this even higher than before. And then don't forget, you know, if she gets excitement, that's another 30% crit chance. So very small numbers, even if you guys have like a 15 or a 20, if you're using this board, you're going to see basically 100% crit chance at all times. Pretty insane. She actually does have kind of low critical hit damage, but that doesn't really matter because, again, Wrath just takes over and it doesn't... She's going to just murder everything and that's it. And you kind of don't want too high of a critical hit damage because she can... believe it or not, do just straight punch through damage, whether they block or they don't block. She's still going to kill them if she gets low enough. Armor, great kind of frontline tank stats at 1500. Resistance, kind of like Leeton, kind of low resistance, but generally won't have to deal with this too much. And once she gets low, she's going to have final resistance for indefinite block, basically. 50% block, this actually isn't bad, and I don't recommend players intentionally try to lose health on her. You should just slowly fight and slowly calculate, you know, as it goes. She should be good enough, even at full health, to take down units, and at least my board will be able to do that. Speed, this is interesting and very important. You know, alter this as you guys need, but I would say keep in mind she's taking Spirit of Warrior as well as Passion. So Passion, of course, is going to give that 10 speed, which is going to put her immediately at 125. Then Spirit of Warrior is going to give her 10 speed for every excitement buff. So mine is currently running 135 as soon as she jumps out the gate. You know, no combat, no other abilities or anything like that, which is really not bad. But for weapons, if you want to go kind of heavier handed on the damage, you can switch to a Slaughterer. Running a Rapid will basically remove the speed modifier, negative modifier for using a two-handed sword, but she doesn't really have a lot of options as far as types. You should use the level 50 weapon. Can't go wrong there. Again, 3-piece golden set. I can't ever stress this enough. You guys see this everywhere on my builds, and even though I would say for sure at least do the 2-piece, and then, you know, if you're running, let's say, a block shred build, you might want to do, you know, golden main, And this build actually works quite well with Golden Feather as well for overcharge duration, so keep this in mind when we go over the board. But she has lots of options. You could also, if you wanted a more defensive Barbarian, go Jackie's Perfect Scale. But, you know, in general, she's lots of options, and I just happen to like the 3 set because you can't really go wrong with it. And then boots, and this is really cool. This is also very much up to the player. I recommend Black Iron Flash boots, and that's because you can get speed plus 20, which is pretty awesome, and she does kind of need it to get into the fight. Very similar to Hazing, Alisa is amazing once she's in the fight, but getting to the fight sometimes can be an issue, and you have to adjust her speed based on your party. You know, you don't want her too far ahead, and you don't want her too far behind. You want your party to all move at the same time. But options, I would say if you wanted to go heavier on damage, like you're doing crits but they're not killing, go ahead and do the Black Iron Flame Boots because they have that base critical hit damage of 30%. Or if you want really high defensive stats, the level 50 Crab Mitt Boots are insane, and you can get a Twilight Collector on there. You can see these, you know, they have the hit, they have the crit, they have a little bit of speed, they have a ton of health. A ton of armor, resistances out the wazoo for fire, ice, lightning. So you'll have a lot more survivability with these as well as massiveness. Mine, I just find that, you know, with the rest of my party, she needs that bonus speed. And we have the Mastery board. So as always, feel free to pause, take a look, take a gander, see what you would keep, see what you would throw out. This is the Gungnir build. Gungnir, of course, was the weapon wielded by the All-Father himself, Odin. Just thought it was very appropriate. But for core offensive masteries, we're going to be taking Wildcat Engine, Lunatic Beast, and One Shot, One Kill. So for Wildcat Engine, this is going to be your kind of target nearest enemy for Berserker, and just start murdering. And mostly that's coming from Anger Strike. Again, this is going to be a lot of her damage, and I think it's important to note what makes Anger Strike really good isn't that it's off-turn combat. It's actually that she doesn't need to get one shot, one kill. You know, for the builds that have one shot, one kill, if they get stopped by kind of block or block shred, you know, then they have this issue. Whereas Alisa doesn't need to have that. You know, I am running Breakthrough on here, which is great, but she really doesn't need to have that because honestly, she could just plow through by pure damage as necessary. So Wildcat Engine, of course, is also going to include Frenzied Charge. You know, that's immunity to AT delay. And then Lunacy, absolutely ridiculous. This should be on every board no matter what. Putting an enemy out of action while under a rage type state will grant you a random excitement state. Lunatic Beast, you know, this is going to be your moving forward as well as your AT reduction, as well as damage taken decrease. So Lunatic Beast actually covers a lot of core things for her, and you know, you can see Indomitable Wills all over the board, Berserker, of course, all over the board, and you know, Roar of Victory. That's going to be that massive SP gain that you keep seeing from Alisa. I think literally every clip of footage that I showed Alisa getting overcharged at least once in the clip, maybe 2 times in the same exact turn. So there's just no, you know, there's no worry on SP gain whatsoever. And then of course aggression. This is often forgotten about, I think, and that extra critical hit chance means Alisa can get away with a lot more, especially on targets that are running Keen Sense. And for core defensive masteries, we're going to be taking Final Resistance and Tenacious Barbarian. Final Resistance is nuts. Once your health is lower than 33%, you block all incoming attacks. This is prioritized even on attacks that are absolutely insane, such as Sen no Sen, where it guarantees a critical hit and stuff like that. So this is an amazing ability, and particularly feeds well into Barbarian because 33% health for Barbarian at 4,000 health is going to be about 1,300 damage, you know, which is like mage health normally, right? So it's much higher, the threshold is much higher, and gives you a little bit of wiggle room once you're in combat. Obviously, you're going to get that bonus to health and, you know, body training, feeding into the health pool. Survival training for block. Will to survive. This is going to be your damage taken decrease once you're under 33%, and of course Indomitable Will. Again, reducing damage taken, and this is going to be what, 50% damage reduction just right there. So not only is it a guaranteed block, but it's going to get lower and lower, and that's not even counting if they actually punch through all the way down to 1, where 99% of the time she's going to have immortality waiting for her anyway. And then, I haven't talked about this yet, but this is probably one of the most ridiculous defensive abilities in the game, and I bet a lot of players wish Albus had some version of this. I feel like this is mandatory for melee fighters, but this is one of the reasons that makes Barbarian so good to be on the front line. Tenacious Barbarian is nuts. You can see you're going to have a further damage reduction from Will to Survive. Tenacity, you're going to have a block chance increase, but that doesn't really matter because we're going to be taking Final Resistance. It's going to give a little bit of bonus to hit pool, but the most important thing of all, absolutely insane, immunity to physical debuff. Of course, this includes nonsense field effects, that you could just get from Arms Alchemy boots, such as fire on the ground and lightning and ice and poison cloud and acidic disease and all this crap, right? But the immunity to physical debuff is also going to apply to bleeding. So none of these enemies that, have, let's say, hemorrhage are going to be able to deal double damage on you. She's not going to have to suffer any kind of movement penalties or any of that nonsense. This is such a nuts ability. Absolutely mandatory for anybody playing Barbarian. At least put this on your board if you don't put anything else. It's also going to incorporate, you can see the synergy is very good with Tough Warrior, even Tenacity, Will to Survive, and then of course Forgotten Pain, which is just silly. Again, if you're in a rage type state, you'll be taking damage taken decreased by percentage of health lost in hip. So, this is like a reverse version of Wrath. It's absolutely nuts. And another reason why you have to keep up Encourage, or you should keep up Encourage whenever possible. And we have a quick defensive showcase here. So we're on the new scenario with just BB and Alisa. And, you can see at the moment, Lisa's at about, 2,800 out of 4,000. So she's lost maybe a third of her health or so. She hasn't activated Final Resistance or anything yet, but you're still going to see decent block values, even at 50% chance or higher based on buffs. She'll be getting Peace and a lot of other things that'll just completely change the numbers that you're actually using. But you can see her, she's doing her thing, just shredding people. And this is what at least, oh yeah, you saw Peace right there go off. But, she's starting to get lower. She's down to what, 1,800? Not quite 1/3 yet. 1,400. And now 1,000. And so at this point, with 4,000 max health, she's in full resistance, or final resistance. And this is where all those damage resistance modifiers, coupled with 100% block, are going to start coming in. And of course, this is also when her damage is crazy. And I would just keep in mind, it's great when she's low health, but don't try to force her to get low health. Don't intentionally have her get shot by a thought or something like that. Try to have it naturally happen, because that way it'll pace correctly. It's kind of like with speed for an entire party. You can see right now she's running a ton of buffs. She has 4 stacks of armor break down there in the bottom left, and here we go. Final Resistance, 1 damage. Dagger from a Rogue, 1 damage. Forestallment, 1 damage. You're going to see a Punishment here for 1 damage. So this is where the defenses really get crazy. And you can see, like I said, Immortality pop there. I think she had it even before then, but you're going to see Immortality all the time. So I personally don't recommend going with Immortal or Second Heart, but that's up to the player and their comfort level. If you're a newer Barbarian, you're gonna want Second Heart or Immortal. But you can see she's just not taking any freaking damage now that she's in the 1/3 range, and she's still giving it all right back. And we have the core support masteries. We're going to be taking Cry of the Wrath, Encouraged Warrior, and of course Charisma. Charisma is just amazing, and I kind of figured this out many months ago for White Knight, that permanent excitement bonus This is very important, and you know, it does give passion, which goes to other allies as well. So this is a great boost, but honestly, this feeds very well into so many things for Alisa. Obviously, the speed, obviously, Spirit of Warrior for having the excitement buff, for adding more speed. So you know, you can add 20 speed to whatever your current Alisa is running. You know, the hit, crit, block, dodge, this all feeds into you know, just White Lion, Enrage White Lion, Outrage White Lion, all the lions, right? So it's just crazy. Encouraged Warrior, this of course is going to pull in Encourage, which is going to, well, it's going to do a lot of things, but you're going to get an action point reduced on it from Encouraged Warrior, and that'll help in the beginning. And then of course with Cry of the Wrath, it's going to improve Courage to basically fill your rage gauge to maximum, and rage needed for ability is going to decrease by 100%. But honestly, even if you didn't have this, you know, she would be getting amazing amounts of rage. The problem is getting the initial start. So this, you know, kind of just skips that part. And this is also what converts your rage or vigor into rage, outrage ability. So there's a lot of little nitpicky things that you'll have to learn as far as rage goes, but the end result is absolutely ridiculous and just totally insane. And for the alternative mastery section, again, I would like to mention this. You know, Immortal, this is great for newer players and or players that are having kind of difficulty with Cruel Challenge. You know, she should be taking damage, she should also be killing, and she should be getting immortality on her own. But activation of Heart of Lunacy will apply immortality, basically what you can see gaining from Lunacy. Heart of Lunacy is basically going to cover you, same as Second Heart. The difference, of course, being you'll be gaining Joy of Lunacy, which is not bad. It's going to act as another catharsis, but you don't really need it, as honestly her base attack, which takes no cast delay, is already going to get refunded from having a Rage type state and Outraged White Lion. So kind of overkill. I will also say that, you know, if you don't have the slots for that, then Second Heart, of course, is amazing and more or less does the exact same thing. So good to keep in mind. Of course, one of my favorites, you guys know I love this, Judgment. This particularly works very well with Barbarian because it's obviously losing health is going to increase damage. You're stacking Judgment on top of Wrath. I just find that it's overkill. I did include this in my punch through build, where even if they block, it doesn't really matter, but it just doesn't work as well as the current board that I'm showing you guys. And then Twilight of Pain, absolutely amazing. Your AT is going to decrease by 5 per 20%. So, you know, if you're down on 1 health immortality, you're going to have something close to 20 or 25 AT reduction. And more importantly, this takes place at the end of the turn. So, you know, if you're running best condition with Twilight of Pain, you potentially get, 30 or 35 AT off of your 36 AT once she has enough speed going. So it really, it's basically like infinite turns and just totally nuts. I just don't find like it's absolutely mandatory. And then finally, Extreme Will is very good. You know, you could go for like kind of a block shred build with Sharp Spirit. I prefer Breakthrough, and Breakthrough has better scaling when you're going into Cruel Challenge. You might find in like hard, Sharp Spirit would be very good because it's a flat, you know, 20% at 100 SB, along with Golden Set 3-piece, which will, you know, put you at 35. And then if you add in Extreme Will, you know, that'll be another 10, so that'll push you up to 45 block shred. Not bad, but, you know, on Cruel Challenge, you'll want something similar to Breakthrough, where, you know, if it's a clown with 100% block rate, you know, 15 will take it off from 3-set golden bonus, putting him at 85, and then Breakthrough will then have that 42, 43 points or so, which is a lot more than Extreme Will do. I will say this, though. The 150 SP will be very useful for any players that are having hit rate issues. So if you find that your Elise is missing, I would say either throw on Flex Shaving or Extreme Will. Alright, and we have the Gungnir Showcase. So we're on the scenario map here, the most recent one released in the storyline, and Elise is at full health here, so you can kind of watch her from beginning to end. She gets knifed by this rogue, which of course triggers, Wildcat Engine. Crimson Cloud happened to be there from Jeff. That's just poor timing on his part. And she's just going to continue on to Snake here. So important to note, she started at 4,000. She's now down to 3,600. And notice she's not taking that much damage. And keep in mind, this is on Cruel Challenge. So we're going to watch and just see how this plays out. So again, block right there. That 50% is a lot more than you might think. So she's collecting buffs now. And just, shredding through these guys. I saw Bravery go off there, Faith earlier, Release Magic, which obviously does nothing for her. That was actually a good hit. You saw that 730 while blocked, and Alisa's now down to 2,500. This, of course, is just going to keep increasing her damage while still increasing her stacks. And again, like I mentioned before, you will see Immortality trigger all the time. So again, I really don't recommend that you add that to your board, but it is a random modifier. I won't blame people for doing it. So she is going to trigger Overcharge, and I just saw this pack and I have the sliding right here, just absolutely. The ones that lived are low health as well as they got armor break, and I'm going to keep hitting this guy because he has more health. Remember, you don't need to one-shot, one-kill on Alisa because most of her damage and killing is honestly going to come from Anger Strike. So right here, we're now at about 2,000 or half health. Again, Frenzy Charge, preventing AT delay, and she's just going on, just killing everybody. It's just silly. If you guys can imagine, very little AT has elapsed during this. You could see the whole AT bar over here. We're going to fast forward to that next turn here. And looks like Jason's going to try his luck on Alisa, poor guy, and just retreat to fight another day. Oh, he did get a good crit in, 340, so Alisa's now down to 1,600, slowly getting angrier, slowly getting stronger, and slowly collecting all these buffs. So, again, Immortality, that's the second time it's triggered. I'd like to say it triggers about every 5 times for me. Of course, everyone else will have different results. I guarantee that when you guys start trying it, you won't see it pop ever for you. Just to prove me wrong, of course. But, so Alisa's continuing on. She already killed the bottom pack of 12 or 15 mobs or whatever. Overcharge again. And, she's, of course, getting stronger and stronger. Breakthrough, you can see on these white clowns really pulling its weight. Again, Breakthrough really feeds better into Cruel Challenge, where the scaling is much higher for blocking in general. But you can see Alisa's just destroying this entire area. What do I even need to do other than point and click? Ooh, that was pretty good. So notice back there. Wait, hold on. Yeah, so obviously Breakthrough is getting him down to about 3840, which is about right. But notice the 83% crit, and that's from Aggression inside Lunatic Beast and the other one, I want to say Aggressive Warrior. But, she's continuing to crit. Excitement's also another 30% crit. It's also, hit chance. And then all of these buffs are feeding into her speed, which she is well over 200 at this point. And so we're going to jump on this guy and actually get close suppressive fire, and he crits and leaves her pretty low, 522. So now she's in 1/3 threshold. Now Final Resistance is going to start taking over. And don't forget, we've triggered Immortality twice so far, once in the previous clip and then once, of course, during this clip. But, she's going to continue on, keep murdering. Again, third time of Immortality trigger, obviously not very useful at this point, but should she die, quote unquote, she'll stop at 1 health, during this turn. It doesn't really matter though, because look at this. Finally, she gets blocked by a black clown, right, who's now bleeding and armor break. He's going to counter for 29, which isn't bad, but the only reason why he's doing 29 instead of 1 is, of course, because he's running Wrath as well. So this is finally going to end Alisa's rampage, but remember, she's in final resistance now. So this white clown comes over, does 1 damage for each individual hit, and now it's game on. This is when it gets really scary. If they thought it was bad before, we went from 4,000 down to her 1/3 health bar, and this is when it's just going to get completely out of hand. Oh my gosh, Oliver came out. Yeah, and she's going to start countering. This is generally, you can see Impulse Field saves him, but this is generally what you can expect from a Barbarian Alisa.
Alright guys, and that wraps up this video. I do consider Alisa's Barbarian to be her advanced class over White Knight. There's a lot more you have to take into consideration, such as a lot of players I know will forget about Encourage dropping on their 3rd turn. The fight's really getting intense and all you want to do is attack, and take out this boss, but what you really need to do is make sure Encourage is up. It's very interesting, and she'll let you know because one, if you do get a kill, you're not going to have Catharsis. You're going to see that Quick Shaving is going to be grayed out basically. 2, she's going to start taking massive amounts of damage, and really just positioning for Barbarian is very important. And even though, obviously Berserker is going to push you forward and do all this weird stuff and put you in positions you wouldn't normally expect, there is still a certain level of, strategic gameplay that you can use to make sure that she's okay. Again, the race, it's not a race to her 1/3 health. Let it happen naturally like you guys saw in the showcase. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch and YouTube, and until next time.